but we focus now just the whole NEI sales team. It's about 80 staff on the 5th floor. I always had an inkling and a really strong interest in finance. And I started my education while still working in the hotel industry. I attained my CFP and started working in this business about 10 years ago, almost exactly 10 years ago. So it's been a really neat ride, and this industry has been very, very good to me, and I love what I do. And I think a big part of that is just making the connection to the advisors and sharing that passion I have. And I feel very lucky to work in the job and the business I have. I remember many days in the hotel industry, this is kind of what I dreamt about. But as soon as I started getting the education, people saw me differently. And all of a sudden I was Rob Torrance with no financial experience or education to Rob Torrance CFP, and it was like, oh yeah, I got a job for you. So it was just making that transition and putting the time in to do study at night off the job, and I began to believe myself too. In my mind, you have to use your heart for everything if you want to be successful. I definitely make decisions with my head, but I think the big picture, the guidance in my life and the trail that I choose is often a gut heart feeling. My job is to go out and coach and educate financial advisors on what sustainable investing is. So we are now NEI Investments. We've grown twofold, so we're up to $5 billion in overall investments now. But ethical is really, I think, the core of what makes us unique. We really decided to be more to engage, to work as an owner of a company. As a mutual fund company, obviously people give us their money to invest and pick the companies they want to invest in. What we do now is we actually vote on every single share we own. So as an owner of that company, instead of, say, being outside the company and saying, hey, you guys are doing this wrong, we're not going to invest in you. By the way, there was always someone else that would invest. We now go into that meeting as an owner and engage the company from within. And we always have a few things we ask of them. We have a $5 billion invested that we use, and there's an overall now, there's $600 billion in Canada that engages companies with sustainability in mind. So that's huge for us. We go in, if we create an idea and we do the groundwork, often we'll have a lot of momentum, a lot of votes on our side when we actually go into these meetings. So yes, they're easier to talk to. I'd say 5 years ago, a lot of times we would get a public relations kind of corporate person that would be sent to us and talk to us, and now we actually get to go in and meet the CEO. And our corporate sustainability team does an amazing job of engaging people at the top level, and of course that's trickling down, and we're seeing organizations take this so much more seriously than they did even 5 years ago. Is that there's a lot of CEOs out there and a lot of companies that are doing an amazing job about integrating these ideas, and by no means are we leading the pack for all companies. There's some we select, and of course we're not that big that we can hit on everybody. But in Canada, there's approximately 230 companies, I think, in our major stock exchange. We usually focus on 40. If corporations take that seriously and incorporate that into their business plan, it has been proven that they often will also be more financially successful. I think one of the things that our team would do, and any researcher, is go and find out if this just like wording, or is this something that they actually believe? And I think any financial analyst, whether we're talking about sustainability or long-term business plans, you're going to have to take this guy's word for it. And can he do it? Can he be the leader that takes this company in this direction that he believes he can? As far as the actual end client, there's pockets of interest. I have a little town called Nelson in the interior of British Columbia in the Kootenays that I get some great support out of, and it just seems to suit their values. We find that we get the more support out of a place like North Vancouver than we do out of Richmond, or maybe even in the valley. So there's pockets of influence. I think our target market is females. They seem to understand the impact on community. That's a big thing that we focus on. If you think about our work with First Nations and Aboriginal groups, or we talk about the community mining developments all around the world, often go into those kind of areas. And we want to see as small an impact as possible on those communities. But when we go and talk to people, this often connects to women more than it does to men on average.